Hey, everybody. If you guys like this show and you want to make your own podcast, let me tell you a little bit about Anchor. It's free, for one. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And now you can even add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless for what you can create, whether it's music analysis, your own radio show, or something the world's never heard before. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Very easy, very enjoyable platform to start a podcast on. Trust me. So download your free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm, that's F as in Frank, M as in Mary, to get started. Check it out, you guys. It's worth it. Hey, guys. Hope everybody's having a great evening. Welcome back to In the Dark podcast. Been a while since I've been on, very much. I don't even know where to get started on that one. I had my daughter moved back in with me from a split with her husband and 2 kids, and I think you can kind of get the picture as to what's been keeping me away from podcasting lately. I'm getting settled back in, though. I'm getting more acclimated and, getting back into my regular routine again. So hopefully things are going to, get a little more evened out here for me, and I can be on a couple times a week again at least. Tonight I'm going to have Robin back on. We've been doing our thing. She's literally as busy as I am, as always, and we're just like twins. Like every time we talk, I mean, our whole entire lives are so much alike. It's crazy. So we finally were able to hook up again tonight, and she's coming on here shortly. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and it's good to be back, and I will do my best to, get back on here regularly as much as I can. So on with the show.
Hey.
Hello, Robin.
Hey, I'm hoping that okay, I've got to figure out this car. Caleb, God love him, said, Mom, you don't have to worry about it. Just get in my car. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. But,
cool.
Yeah, except he's got the fan on this car. His car is this $37,000 car. He only just got it. It's their first new car they've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's phenomenal, except I don't know how to work this damn thing. The blowers are blowing like mad banshees, and I just want to turn the damn thing down. There, I think I found it. It's
well,
like
just for the listeners, for everybody to understand what's going on, Robin and I are both extremely busy mothers, and our lives are completely chaotic and crazy. So we are both sitting in cars right now.
I know. It's like,
do
how do
podcast?
I'm trying to have it as quiet as possible for the listeners.
Yeah,
because I have an animal rescue, and all of them like to bark and chirp the bird and meow and carry on like crazy people.
It's just so funny.
It's just distracting.
Well, everything. The kids, I've got my daughter moved back in with 2 grandkids, and one's autistic, and, so it's been, I mean, my whole house is in an uproar, and Robin's life is pretty much the same as mine. So we're both sitting in cars.
Yeah, and then I go to sit in mine to drive it up closer to the house by the Wi-Fi, and my battery dies. Like, what goes on in this world?
Yeah, that's why I sent the message to you. I said, do you want to wait till you get your battery? And then
No. And I got out of the car, and my son said to me, Mom, what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't even do the podcast in the bloody car because now the battery's dead. He's like, just get in line.
So funny.
So I get in this car. This car literally has its own mind. Like, it talks to you.
Yeah.
When he got out of the military and he came to my house, it's like middle of the night, 4:00 in the morning, and they're still driving because they were coming from out of state.
Yeah.
And the car pipes up and it says it's time to call service for the car. It's been X amount of miles. you need to have an oil change. And then it dials the service department.
Are you
And
kidding me?
no, and this woman answers and says, service department. And he said, ma'am, Caleb says, did I wake you up? And she said, well, yeah, but that's okay. We're open 24 hours. And he's like, no, go back to bed. The car says it wants an oil change. I
That is
didn't go
crazy.
anywhere.
I didn't even know they did that.
Oh my gosh, this car's crazy. Like, it
I,
scares
I,
me. It's so
I didn't
crazy.
went that far.
Yeah,
Okay, you.
let's do it.
Last time we talked, I noticed that we talked so much about Bigfoot. And Robin has a lot of encounters with, Dogmen and even other cryptids and creatures and stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted what I wanted to hear about was the dog that you talked about. Was his name Louise?
Oh, the
Or
Dogman? Yeah, Louise.
is it
Um,
that I got his name right? That's good.
you
Okay.
actually did, yeah, yeah. Now, the thing that people, and I really stress this to people, and a lot of them don't believe me, and I'm fine with that, but they are not all bad.
Right.
The ones that are bad, and I tell this to people about the Bigfoot as well, the bad ones are lethal. The good
Yeah.
ones are just this incredible love that you feel off of them. Have I dealt with bad dogmen? I have. I've spoken to bad dogmen. I've helped people with bad dogmen. Myself, the ones that have been around me, I've enjoyed having them. I've not had a bad experience with them, the ones that have been around me personally.
Right.
So, Lucius, generally, when he's around, he's across from my driveway, and he just says he's there to guard, and there
Right.
was Janice Carter was here and took a picture, and she always tells everybody she's the worst person to take a picture, but she actually got it really. I mean, I think it's an okay picture. I don't think it's one of the best out there, but you can definitely see the the ears and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And she got a picture of him, and he's talked to myself. He's talked to my husband. Pat Mind speaks as I do,
Mm-hmm.
and he's actually just really nice. I've not
Wow.
seen him walking around the yard. I will say that. Generally, you see him across the road. Like, I'll see movement over there, and I'll see some parts of him, and then I'll see his head now and then. But
Mm-hmm.
he's normally very good as far as talking. We have one that, and I think I already told you this, Tracy, that there was a Dogman pup that had, when I first moved in, I was laying in bed. It was light out. But it was like 8 o'clock at night. I mean, it was still sunny. It was summertime, and I was exhausted. I had been doing a bunch of stuff all day. I was laying on the bed in my pajamas watching TV with my husband, and he was mind speaking, and he wanted me to come out. And what I get a lot from them is they like my energy, and they always want me to come out so I can see you. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, really, there's nothing big to see. Trust me on this. And he wanted me outside, and I'm like, I don't want to come outside. I'm tired. Well,
Mm-hmm.
just come outside. And then eventually it was, if you come outside to let me see you, I'll let you see me. And I said, I highly doubt that. And then it was, if you come out, I'll let you take my picture.
Yeah.
And I said, well, here's the thing. If I come out and I take your picture or I try to, and I don't get a picture of you, then that means you're a liar. And I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Like, if you lie to me, you're gone. Like, I don't want to hear from you. I won't respond. He's like, no, 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 I promise. And I knew he was just a baby. So I went out in the backyard, and he said, I'm up in the trees. And I said, okay. So I thought I saw movement up in the trees, and I just took a picture. I never expected to get him. I really didn't. And I've had people say, oh, it's a bear. No, it's not. Number one, bears' ears don't sit on the top of their head close together like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the box of the snout sticking out.
Yeah.
And so he showed himself right away. I was amazed. You could have blown me over the feather, because, usually I get pictures of stuff, but the way he was going about it, and, I'll let you. And I'm thinking, no, you're not gonna.
Oh.
And he
Now
did.
this wasn't Louise, so this was another
No,
one.
this was a baby. This was a young
Okay.
one. And so I asked him his name. I don't think he told me the name that's right, because I have a cockatiel. It's actually my husband's, and his name is Nico. So when
Yeah.
I asked him what his name was, he said his name was Nico. And I
Oh,
thought, I think that's too much of a coincidence for me. But if that's what you want me to call you, you got it.
yeah. That is so cute. Well, now, what do you think? Now, Lucius is all black, right? He's in
Yeah.
all black.
Yeah. And this
Okay.
couple is, they, you'll see them black, you'll see brown, you'll see black with like red highlights.
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's a variety of colors. I haven't seen like the white ones. I've seen a tremendous amount of the white Bigfoots. For the record, when you see a white Bigfoot, it doesn't mean it's old. Some are just
Ah,
simply born with white hair. They have them that turn gray as they age. But again, they are also, we have all these different hair colors,
yeah.
so do they. There are
Yes, they
some that
do.
you'll see that are one color and they'll have patches on them that are a different color.
I
Shadow's
figured that.
complete, yeah, Shadow's completely white. But when you look at his upper left arm, yeah, it's the left arm, he has a black strip that goes down his arm, almost like a lightning bolt. It looks like a tattoo, but it's black hair.
Now, he's a
You know,
he's a Bigfoot, right? That's
yeah. And
okay.
and he's one that really has such human features, but yet everything, like he's stood within 10 feet of me and in the flesh and not cloaked. And I was just amazed because, I've seen a lot of them that have more of the bald face and the hair, and I've seen the rounded heads, I've seen the conial heads. And no, it's not, the ones in this area all have cone heads. No, that doesn't work that way. They're as diverse as we are. All of them are different. There's no two alike.
Yeah.
You might see some areas where some things are more pronounced, but please don't say that all of them in that area are one way, because they truly aren't. Um, but like with Shadow, he was standing, like I was out in the yard and he just walked up to me. It wasn't like, I accidentally ran into him. He literally walked up to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was so amazed. To this day, I'm amazed. His body hair was maybe a little bit longer than what would be that was on his face. So, I mean, maybe I want to say 3 inches long on his body once you got past his shoulder. But the hair on his face, he had very, very short hair. It was the whole face, like eyelids, eyebrows, everything, just extremely, extremely short, but it was there. And his skin it was not an albino skin. Just because they're white doesn't mean they're not, that they are albinos. Are there some like that? Yes, just like we have people that are albino.
Yeah.
But
Just the same. Yeah.
yeah, but they can be white and not be an albino. And there was no place on his face that was without this very, very short hair. And then when you got to the top of his head, this is what really surprised me. It was a little bit longer. It was slicked back. Honest to God, it was unbelievable. I just stood there mesmerized because his head looked every bit like one of our people's human men.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. It didn't He didn't have the flattened nose. He didn't have, it was a little bit, pushed down, but not like a lot of them that you see. He looked so unbelievably human, and yet there was not one cell on that man or that boy that was not hair. But his hair was all slicked back. Like I was 10 feet from him or less. Like I literally, and he was out in the broad daylight. That's how I knew about
Yeah.
the black on his upper arm. His whole body I saw. And but on his face was short white hair. I'll never forget it. And he had very dark eyes. But he had hair on his eyelids. He had it on then his eyebrows. It was just all this very short white hair. Even his ears,
Wow.
there was hair.
That's neat.
Yeah. And so then you had that, and then you get to his head and it's slicked back.
Yeah. Do you feel I bet you feel like a tiny little person next to them.
Yeah, some of them. Like the tallest one I've gotten up front and close to was roughly 14 feet, and it was pretty much a
Like,
toe-to-toe thing. And it was not a planned act. And I think he just said, "Look at this stupid, silly human."
Yeah. Yeah. What you said about the bad dogmen, like you've spoken to some of the bad ones. What do they talk, like what kind of way, what, like say if you encounter a bad dogman, what kind of things do they say to you?
Well, the ones that I talked to more or less had to do with, they were having problems with other people. I've never been personally threatened by a dogman.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I won't. I don't ever say never with anything. It's like I've never been zapped before, but I've
Yeah.
been around people that were standing literally inches from me and they got dropped to the ground.
Jeez.
So I never say never. I'm sure my day is coming. Anybody that does a lot of research eventually gets it. I have not yet, but
Oh
that doesn't
God.
mean I won't. Okay. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's because of any great superpower or anything like that. I think it's just I've gotten lucky.
No, it'll happen when I come to visit you and we'll be out together and we'll both get zapped together, knowing
Yeah.
our luck.
I haven't had that experience because,
Oh God.
but I
Robin?
mean,
Okay,
I've been
sorry.
lucky.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't. But I have had people stand next to me and they just got dropped like stoned, like they were stones. Just look, that was if they were on the ground. I had one a female that had children and they were all in this cluster of bushes. And she asked that I come give the kids a blessing. And I said, all right. And I was with a friend of mine out in the woods that had gone out in the woods multiple times with me
Mm-hmm.
and had never bothered them. She was not what they call pure of heart, which is what, the Bigfoot's typically like people that have what they call pure of heart. But she does have parts of her that is a kind person, and she had never been threatening or abusive to them in any way. So I never dreamt it was a problem. And so I went to go forward. They asked me to do it. I said, okay. She was standing next to me. So
Mm-hmm.
we moved forward. When we moved forward, I turned around and she wasn't standing next to me anymore. And she's like on the ground, withering in pain, going, make them stop, make them stop, make them stop.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what's going on? She said, my head, my head, my head. It feels like it's going to explode. So I turned around and I hollered at the female and I was like, you have to stop. She's done nothing wrong. You asked us to come forward and they said, no, we want only you forward. I said, fine, but I'm not going to do anything for you unless you stop this. And they did. And she was like, she sat up and she's like, it's completely stopped.
I wonder what made them decide to feel
I
that she
think
was a
because the
threat.
kids, it was the kids. I'm sure because the kids were there. She was also at my house, and we were inside I was doing laundry and I was folding them. I was standing next to my bed. I was folding clothes on the bed because then I could just put them in the dresser and stuff. And we were watching TV and the dog was out back just going crazy. And the dog was tied up at the time. And I looked out back and it looked like somebody wearing an orange shirt or a copper colored shirt walking along the property line. And I thought, what in the world? Nobody's supposed to be over there. It's private property. So I normally, anytime I would walk outside, I took my cell phone because I could get a picture if I needed to. And I started to, and looking back now, I know somebody told me not to take it, but I went to go take my phone, and something I just felt like, no, I shouldn't take it. Now looking back, I know that they probably put that in my mind. But I walked outside and she was with me and we walked all the way out there and I got halfway there and I realized it was a female with an infant. And so I made my friend stop and not come any closer. And then I walked towards her and she let me get quite close to her. And I saw the baby. He was adorable. He'd run like excuse me, tree to tree and he'd climb up about 3 feet and then he'd go back down and he'd go to the next one up 3 feet and go back down. And he did that for, I was allowed to watch him for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And she let me get very close to her. Um, she picked him up, looked at me, made eye contact with me, put him on up against her chest and started to walk off. And I started to follow her and I didn't have any problems, but it was like she evaporated into thin air.
Yeah.
Like I was literally 20 feet behind her and all of a sudden she was just gone. But I did hear her tell me that I couldn't follow her anymore. That was as far as I could go. And I was respectful of it. I said, okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me see your child. And that was it. But then as soon as that happened, I felt like it was a test.
Yeah.
Because number one, if you have that encounter, like she was definitely showing me this child.
Right.
You know, she was out in the open. She wasn't hiding in the woods. She was outside the tree line while the baby was playing, and he was absolutely adorable. She was copper colored hair, like an orangish copper color. And her
Yeah.
hair, she reminded me of Cousin It because it was so incredibly long. And when she would move, you could see that hair just part over the muscles
That's
as
crazy.
she moved. It was just beyond
So weird though,
incredible.
females are that muscular too, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. They're, you know, really and truly, they have a wider hip section than the males, but they're quite buff. I mean, they're not smaller at
Yeah.
all.
I
And
still can't get over the fact that they're not part gorilla. I just, when you told me the one time we talked and you said like that, that they were just ET and human, I'm like, where does this look come from?
I know, and
You know?
but you know, if you really think about it, if you look, and I'm not a scientist, I don't do DNA. You know, Melba Ketchum does that, not me. And, but when you look at our DNA, we do have some form of primate in us.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they would have that as well, but no more so than us.
It's just crazy. It's really
And
crazy.
yeah, and so when she walked off, like within, I want to say within 24 hours, they were coming out of the woodwork. They got to the point when I lived there, they walked freely uncloaked all around the property. It wasn't a big deal. They were playing all night long, and I was going out in the middle of the night with them and sitting out there with them. And, you know, this went on, I was there from 2009 to 2015. And it
Wow.
was like that the entire time. And then when I moved, I had moved and I didn't move that far. And they showed up there. And then had to move again. And, you know, Blackie was standing out in the backyard. I went outside. I have mini pigs, and I went to go let my mini pig out to go to the bathroom. And I'm outside with her, and she's walking around going, because they're like little dogs. And I looked up, and there he's standing. I mean, just full bodied standing there.
That is just amazing. They
And
follow
he
you.
said, "Don't worry, we'll always be watching." And I'm like, okay.
Robin,
You know,
it's so darling in a way, you know?
it really is. I mean,
I
right
mean,
now we have what I call the nighttime tapper. We have this adolescent, and he's not really, I don't think he's young. I would say probably maybe 20, high teens, you know. He's got to be, from what I've been able to deduce, he's got to be at least 7 to 8 feet. So he's not real tiny, but he's not real old either. But he started out, they always look in the windows. You know, it drives everybody but me crazy. I enjoy it just because
hmm
I can see them. Um, but like we have two windows in the bedroom. One has blinds on it, which is right next to where Pat sleeps on his side of the bed. The other window, I don't have blinds on because it doesn't bother me that they look in the house. It doesn't. It doesn't creep
yeah,
me out. I don't get scared by it. Um, Maybe if I had an encounter when they did it that was frightening, then it would change.
right.
But I haven't had that experience. So my window, I can see it from my side of the bed, and it sits, you know, the TV is right next to it up on the wall. And I was laying in bed, and you know, you can hear when somebody taps on glass. It sounds different than per se wood or a door
hmm
or a table. And I hear this tapping, and it woke me out of a sound sleep. And as I woke up, in that corner right by that window, we have our TV is up mounted on the wall, and there's a table underneath of it. And my cats like to go and lay on that table. And as I wake up, the cats are flying off that table and out of the room. Like
hmm
they're terrified. And the dogs woke up and ran to go bark at the window, and they stopped halfway and they dove under the bed. And I know it didn't zap them because they weren't crying. They were just like in mid bark, shut up, and just went under the bed.
hmm
So I got up because I didn't see anything, but I didn't have my glasses on. I couldn't see. And so I grab my glasses, I get up and I go to the window. I don't see anything, but I knew what I heard and I knew the reaction that the animals had. So I laid back down. I'm just starting to fall asleep. Tap, 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 tap. I get up, I go to the window. I don't see anything. So I thought, okay, this time I'm going to pretend I'm sleeping and I'm staying awake. So I laid there and it was like 15, 20 minutes and I'm wide awake, but I'm just laying there. And pretty soon the tapping started. So, and I had my glasses on. I didn't take my glasses off. I looked up and I saw this huge black silhouette. And then he turned and went running off. I
Okay.
could see a little bit of the hair and everything. And I thought, okay, so now I know it's a black one that's doing it, because we have all different colors around here. So
Right.
then, like 2 weeks later, and he had done this on and off, but it never woke Pat up. It only woke me up. And it had woke me up, and I got up and I went into the kitchen and I came back and it had started back up, and Pat heard it and he had to get up for work. He gets up for work extremely early. And he said to it, he said, just please, I'm just trying to sleep. And as soon as he said that, the tapping stopped. And he didn't do it for almost a week after that because he
Wow.
didn't want to wake Pat up. But every once in a while, I'll hear him.
Yeah. No, this is a Bigfoot. You think it's not
Yeah.
a dog?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not a Dogman. Now, we've had where I've looked out in the backyard and I've seen the Dogmen, and it's almost like they're not completely cloaked. You can see the outline, you can see the facial features, but when you get down to the torso, it's like you can look right through them. So it's almost like a spirit form, and I've seen them meandering around the backyard. I saw one run across the backyard in flesh and blood. Um, there were two of them in the field directly across from me that I caught one night, and the only reason why I knew they were Dogmen and not Bigfoot were because when they turned their head and I saw their eyes, I saw the ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my next door neighbor said at one time she was leaving her house late at night. And when the lights hit that field, there were two over there, but she said they looked more like they had a dog-shaped head. But then like I said, we have Bigfoot and Dogman that are running these woods
And they're
all the
together.
time.
Like they're basically running together, or do they keep kind
No,
of apart?
they coexist next to each other. Now we
Okay.
had when I was in Michigan at that one particular house where everything was at. I have a photo of one that she actually, I'm going to be honest, she looks like a hybrid between the Bigfoot and the Dogman. Um, she almost looks like a teddy bear face, but she's got a bushy tail.
Mm-hmm.
And she was actually hanging out with the Bigfoot. So there are times where they intermingle. Pat had one in Indiana. He lived in Indiana prior to him and I getting together and getting married. And he had one that was there. And he had Bigfoot all over the place too, because like I would go visit him and they'd be running. They lived on this pond. It was like a subdivision, but there was ponds, and there'd be all these houses, and each lot was like an acre or whatever. And they would go in the pond. We constantly saw them going down to that pond. And
Wow.
but there was a Bigfoot or a Dogman that was there too. It was a female. She was very sweet. And
Oh.
Pat had seen her looking in the window a couple times where there was like that silhouette of her. But I've talked to ones that were aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones like that, they really, you know, there's always that exception. Like when you go to like the land between the lakes, you're really taking a huge risk because the ones there are nasty and they've grouped together and they've taken over that spot there and they have no
Mm-hmm.
intention of leaving.
Hmm.
And they are nasty. They don't want people there, but yet people keep going in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying it's anybody's fault when they get hurt there, but I'm saying your common sense is going to tell you this is an unsafe area. There were some that killed people there multiple times.
I know.
And
I don't
so,
understand human beings at all. I don't. I mean, your
yeah,
curiosity factor is one thing, but go to an area where you know that they're kinder species. You don't go somewhere where
if you
it's
want
a
to
known
interact,
area for
yeah,
that.
find areas where the better ones are. I've heard
Yeah.
rumors that like Sam Houston National Forest has aggressive ones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not. I know somebody that went in there and claimed that it was just terrifying for her. And I said, okay, what happened? Was it a Bigfoot or a Dogman? Well, first she said it was a Dogman. Then she changed that and it was a Bigfoot. And I said, what did it do? Well, it was tearing apart a stump. I said, okay, what did it do? Well, we drove by and we saw it. It was standing there tearing apart the stump. It didn't realize we were there. And then when it turned around and saw us, it yelled at us. I said, okay, what did it physically do to you?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm traumatized. Well, you're traumatized because it's a shock to see them, obviously, but
Yeah.
it didn't do anything to you. And that was in the Sam Houston National Forest. So I know people that have gone in there and never had a problem. I know people that have gone in there and claim that there are issues. But again, there's different clans, there's different packs for the Dogmen, there's different clans for the Bigfoots, and there's good and bad. And what I try to tell people when they want, I mean, I understand a lot of people want contact, okay? But you want positive contact. The negative contact never ends well. You're going to be
Right.
scared. They're going to be scared. Somebody could possibly get hurt. And if you have that kind of negative contact, there is not a good chance that you're going to have a lot of positive contact or another contact.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I try to tell people is work for that positive contact. Number one, running out in the woods and chasing them down is never going to work. Okay, find an
Yeah.
area that you might think that is a popular area, or what I like to tell people, like, let's say you know an area that they are in actively. Go outside that area so you're not invading their space. Have a bonfire. Sit down, cook some food over the fire pit. They're going to smell the food. They're going to hear the laughter. They're going to come in because they're curious.
Mm-hmm.
They are always busy looking at us while we're looking at them because they're as curious as we are. But don't be so invasive. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in your home and somebody busts in your door, you're going to protect it. And you are well within your right to do so.
Right. Right.
But when you go out there and you get intrusive and up in their business, you're doing the same thing.
Well,
You
it
know,
reminds me of an Indian tribe, how the Indians were invaded,
oh,
and
absolutely.
I feel like these are tribes of,
Yeah, they're an ancient
kids.
people. They
Yeah, they're an
really
ancient
are.
type of people, and they're more. If you look at that their home to them is their land. It's
It,
their, just
yeah,
like the
and
Indians.
they don't understand our traditional property lines.
Mm-hmm.
They don't recognize those. They look
Right.
for their own territories, which are not like our property lines are. They don't understand that. When you walk out your front door, whether you're paying taxes on your land or not, you're now in their world.
I know.
I mean, the whole thing comes down to respect. And believe me when I say I get it. There are some out there that are bad. I get it 110%. I've been called to different states to help deal with bad Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've gone out there. I know. I agree. There's some that are really bad. But I tell you what, I would rather go out in the woods where there are, not knowing what those type of Bigfoots are than go down in a bad area of town because our people are far more dangerous.
Yeah, I know they are. I know. What makes you? How do you realize? Like, what makes it so when a Dogman or a Bigfoot is aggressive? Like what?
For I'm a little bit different than a lot of people. I read energy. I believe everybody is capable of doing that.
Okay.
All right, because your body is going to react to a different energy before your mind will. Okay.
Okay.
So, like, if you're walking in the woods and you just feel very at peace and very relaxed, that's a good thing. And if they're around, then they're radiating a good energy. But
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden you'll feel like something's changed. And all of a sudden you're kind of looking over your shoulder. That's because your body is reacting to a negative energy that has changed.
Yeah.
People need to, when they feel that, honor that, turn around and leave.
Right.
You
Right.
know, really, if you're out in the woods and you see these giant X's or giant X's that have posts on either side, you don't need to be there. And I had somebody during a chat the other day because I was moderating a chat for a show for World Bigfoot Radio, and somebody asked a question of how do I know which side am I supposed to be on?
Mm-hmm.
There's generally subtle signs. Okay, look to see if you see structures on either side. Do you see tree breaks on either side?
Okay.
Something that is going to be aware of your surroundings. Or let's say you're walking into that area and you felt perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden you come up on it. Chances are you're walking into some place that you now aren't welcome to be in. And
Yeah.
it is hard. It's not an easy thing because their signs are very, very subtle, but their energy doesn't lie. It just
I
doesn't.
I
And so,
understand that. Yeah, yeah.
but listen, listen to your body, because you're
Okay.
going to react to that change. Your body will react before your mind will.
Okay.
But just
I
because you
gotcha.
pick up something different, like watch for signs. People panic, and rightfully so. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I know it can be frightening.
Oh, of course it would be if you don't know these things. Even you think it's just
Right.
a fairy
A
tale, and then you're
100%. But I've
yeah.
had people say, they threw a rock at me. Okay, I get
Well, yeah,
that. But was it a big rock? Was it a medium rock? Was it a little rock? Because it means different things. Number one, their accuracy is 100%. They do not
right.
miss. So even if a large rock is thrown at you, which obviously means get out, but it lands 3 or 4 and 5 feet away from you, that is a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not an attack. That is a single rock that's been thrown, and it's saying you're now too close to me. You might be too close to their children. They could be hunting. They could have elderly there. You don't know their situation,
Right.
but they're giving you that knowledge that you please leave. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
this is better. Would you rather have them come out and try to kill you? I mean, they're giving you the warning, and people are like, no, it's an attack. Now, if you're getting boulder after boulder after boulder, yeah, it is an attack. But they're doing it in a manner that you can escape from, because if they wanted to, they could come out and rip your head off.
I always love talking to you about this because everybody's always one-sided. Like they either are sympathetic and think they're all just wonderful and they should all be protected, or they go the other way where they think, they should just, they had a really bad experience and they should all be destroyed. And I love how, you put it in the perspective that it's just like human beings, only they're much more capable and more powerful. So
Right.
obviously, there's
Well,
that fear factor there,
there,
but
yeah, and there is absolutely nothing out there on this planet or any other planet that is 100% bad or 100% good.
yeah,
Okay, there
yeah.
just isn't, because everything has free will. And if you
Right.
have free will, that gives everything the opportunity to determine their path. Is it going to be a good path? Is it going to be a bad path?
Mm-hmm.
There could be trauma done to some that make them the way they are. I've spoken to several, there's a male that was around here, and he's very kind, but he was very traumatized because he had went down. We have a creek that goes into almost like a swampy area down the road from me. And one day I was leaving my home, and as I was pulling up my driveway, they were getting hold of me, and they're going, come quick, we're in danger. And I'm like, okay, where are you? Who are you? What are you? Oh, and they were showing images of themselves to me in my mind. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming, and they said, he's trying to shoot us. He's trying to shoot us.
Oh
And I
my
got
God.
down there, and there were 3 men in a truck doing whoop calls. Now, if you're doing a whoop call, you're being precise on what you're calling. You know what
Exactly.
you're calling. And they had shotguns all aimed into the woods there. And he was at the back of it. And they were trying to shoot him. Like, he
Oh my
wasn't
God.
bothering anybody. He was simply at the back walking through the water. And they're out there trying to shoot him. And
Of
I had
course.
to make a decision. Do I stop and try to stop them? Because then they know that I know what they're doing and what they are trying to get, and they will be all over my house. So basically, what I did was I caused a distraction and I acted stupid, which
Oh,
turned them away so they could get out of there. In the meantime, I told him, I said, Pat's at home, go to the house.
right,
It's private land. Behind my property, it's private land.
right,
Nobody can go back there. And I told him, I said, Pat will never let anybody hurt you. If you go back there, if need be, I will come. I will keep you safe. I can, but go back there. You're safe back there. They can't come on my property,
right.
and they can't get back behind my house. You're safe there. Go. And he did. And he was
Oh,
very kind, and he was very gracious, and he stayed about a week. And
God
then he
love.
left. And it was comical because he hadn't left but a few days when my next door neighbor's grandson came over and said, you know, and I had talked to him prior because he had seen them walking through my backyard. And I said to him, I said, you know what? I know this is exciting. I know you want to just tell everybody, but honey, you can't,
Yeah,
because they will be all over here trying to hurt them. And so he was very good about keeping it quiet about it, because he didn't want them hurt. And he said, Miss Robin. And I said, what? And he said, my friend down the road, it walked through his backyard. Like he saw it. And he
Oh,
called my neighbor's grandson and said, you aren't going to believe this. I don't even know what it was that was out there, and described it to a T.
yeah.
And he said, he said, I just played dumb. He said, you'd be proud of me. He said, I didn't tell him. He said, I don't want him shot. And I said, well, I appreciate that.
I was talking to my daughter Chandler last night, and she pulled over, and I was I was out hiding in the car again. I just went out to get something to eat because I was like, I need a break from the house. I just gotta go get something, like have some peace and quiet for a few minutes. And she pulled in and she started laughing because she knew what I was doing, and so she was telling me that she works with this guy that was in the Marines, and she had mentioned the Dogmen to this guy, thinking, I remember mom telling me that, the service guys and stuff know about a lot of this stuff and,
Oh,
whatever.
absolutely.
And she said that she asked him and he looked at her really funny and he said Dogmen. And she was like, yeah, do you know anything about that? Do you think they exist? And he kind of looked down and after a few minutes he said, well, he said, I know that there was one that got loose that escaped in one of the compounds and it died. They found it in the water dead. And he just told her, he said, he didn't verify much. He just said, I've heard all about it. He said, and they're really big.
Yeah. Well, to begin with, my understanding is the Ebens did create some. I mean, they talk about, creating the body of a man with the head of a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And those ones, my understanding were those were good.
Wow.
And that I believe that. And, like these other cryptids that the ETs have put on this planet, again, you have good and you have bad, but then our government turns around and wants to create super soldiers,
Yeah.
and they create these things, and the things that they're creating are made to kill.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of it. But when they make them, there was a gentleman and I didn't listen to the whole podcast. I really didn't, because I didn't agree with a lot of what he said, but did want to hear him, because I don't know it all. I don't claim to. I'm not an expert. I don't believe there are experts in this. And
Yeah.
he was talking about these groups that the government had that worked for the government. And I believe that to a degree, because the government has created some,
Yeah.
and different things that I've done in the paranormal field, I've seen them being used. And so I do believe that to an extent that happens. But I do also know that the government has created all kinds of cryptids, more cryptids than people have any idea. It's really astounding. And most of the ones they've created are all trained to kill.
Oh God, Robin.
You
Good
know,
God.
I mean, the ETs, what they've created has the free will to choose good and bad, and they will be good and bad. But what the government's creating is just bad, because they
And then
made
all
them
the
to
good
kill.
ones that are here
And
are going to get taken down because of
Mhm.
what the government's created.
I think so. And I think that we'll never know all the reasons why they did it. I mean, there's suspicions of a few reasons, but
Mhm.
we'll never know all the reasons why.
Yeah.
I mean, why they think they can play God, I don't know. I really don't. And how they think this is going to benefit anything, because when you create something as powerful and strong as what these beings and these cryptids are, there is no controlling them,
I know.
you know? And what, the government or people or whoever doesn't realize, these have been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And if we would just leave them alone, 90% of it, they wouldn't bother us.
Right. Yeah, I
You
believe
know,
that. I do. I believe that. I mean, I'm just baffled that, just, I was going to ask you too. Have you ever talked to them about the creatures that people have seen like coming down from Alaska, the mountain giants, or the giants that are, even from the Bible, it says that at some point the giants will return. They found giant bones.
they have
People have,
found them all over. They found giants in Montana and
yeah,
several other states. I mean, the giants, I firmly believe, existed.
yes, I do too.
I firmly believe it. They've got the bones to prove it. We've been altered so many different times. And if you look at what the height of people were even 50 years ago opposed to now, we're smaller now.
Right.
I believe the giants existed. But as far as a lot, Alaska has so much wild terrain. And my experience, for whatever that's worth, when anything, I don't care what it is. And I'm not talking about our humans, I'm talking about an animal. And the Bigfoots are not an animal any more than we are, or the Dogmen. But when you're looking at things that live in that open territory and the open terrain and a constant food source all the time, they get bigger. And the Dogmen and the Bigfoot are big to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get into these mountain regions and wilderness regions, they're even bigger. Like
Right.
when I was in Michigan, it had to be 14 foot easy.
Oh,
Because
that's
when I
great.
got toe to toe with it, I was looking at its thigh, and I'm 5'9.5".
Holy crap.
So, I
How tall?
mean,
Wait, how tall are you?
I'm 5'9.5".
You're 5'9.5". Okay. Wow, I didn't know you were that tall.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah, I
great.
hated it. I always hated being tall. But,
I love it. Okay. Yeah.
but of course, as I get older, I'm shrinking. I think I'm down to 5'9". But, incredible shrinking woman. Wish the
Yeah.
rest of me would shrink with it. But he was really big, and he was standing in the tree line. He was the leader of one of the clans that had come in that night. And, I think I had told you about this. He was pulling the pony into the woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
that was the only reason. It wasn't that I was trying to get close to him or that he was trying to get close to me. It was just the way it played out. And I think he thought it was, look at this stupid, foolish girl.
Right.
Because
Right.
really, if he wanted to hurt me, he could have taken me out in a heartbeat.
That's
And,
exactly right. I told
and
Chandler that last night we were talking. I said, if these things, if you get away from these or these, beings or whatever you would call them, I said, it's because they let you. I mean, that's not
oh,
a joke. I
absolutely.
mean, that's something that,
110%.
yeah, like, I
But
mean, there's a lot of people that live that have these encounters, and if they're alive to tell of these encounters, and these beings let them live,
yeah,
you
now
know.
I talked to one gentleman that had a bad encounter. And in
Hmm.
his case, number one, he was a logger. He had his own logging company, and he had torn down a section of woods that was their home.
Yeah.
And they had followed him home, and he had woods all behind his place, and he was tearing all that down too.
Oh my.
And he went out there one night because he heard him hollering, and he went out there with the gun and started firing into the woods. And he was in his house. He went back in the house, and next thing you know, he hears something try to open his door.
Oh, jeez.
And he ended up, it did come into the door. I mean, it came through. And
Hmm.
him and his wife went out another door, got in their car, and left.
Oh my God.
But at the same time, and I feel compassion for them because it had to be absolutely terrifying for them. But at the same time, I also feel compassion on the other end because here they lost their home, and then somebody's out there acting like a crazy person, shooting bullets in the dark into the woods.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
pretty invasive stuff. It's
it
it's like,
is. And it's like, I don't want to see our people get hurt, but I don't want to see their people get hurt either.
exactly. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that being said, they're going to protect their families at all costs. They are extremely family oriented. They are going to protect their family. There's no doubt about it. And there's not anything that's going to stop it. But at the
Hmm.
same time, we're the same way. So if you're actually under an attack and it's not a warning and it's literally trying to kill you, obviously you're going to protect yourself and you have every right to do so.
Right.
It's not any different than if you're at home and some hoodlum breaks into your house carrying a gun. You're going to protect your family. You're going to protect yourself. You're within your rights to do that. You should do that.
Yeah. Yep.
So, it does. There's just, it's a complicated situation, and it's frustrating as a researcher when I hear everybody doing the rainbow and unicorn thing, and they're all lovely. And let's just go out, we'll commune with everybody, and everybody will love each other and kumbaya. Or then you go to the other side, and they're all bloodthirsty killers. Let's annihilate all of them. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. It just
No.
simply doesn't. They
No.
are an ancient people. They have their own language, their own words, their own alphabet. They can read, they can write, they're human,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
they are.
And,
Partly
and
human.
when
I
it
know
comes
that.
to the dogmen, they may be a little bit more, I don't want to say wild, because that means that, they're just nothing but an animal. And that's not the case.
Right.
More uncivilized, I think, is the best way to put it. But some of
Well,
them,
according to our laws, and civil, I
yeah.
mean, those are the laws we make up,
Yeah,
so.
and that you have said a mouthful, because here's the thing. They have their own laws.
Hmm.
They do. They are not like ours. The Dogmans have their own laws. The Bigfoots have their own laws. All of them do. They have their own way of life. They have their own culture. Just because it's different than ours doesn't make it wrong.
I
But,
know, I agree with you. I
you
really.
have to understand that there is a difference there. And this is where the problems come up. And this is where the disconnect comes up. Because we think they're attacking us. They think we're attacking them. I mean, in some cases it's true, but for the most
Right.
part, it's miscommunication. And I work with people all over this globe. I really and truly do. I get people that contact me, or I don't advertise for it. It's word of
Yeah.
mouth, or somebody might know somebody that needs help. And it's not that anything great about me, other than maybe I can help them bridge that gap of understanding,
Yeah.
so that they can have that copacetic relationship if they're living around them. Or maybe I can suggest, do try this to see if you can calm the situation, or protect yourself, or protect them, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
Well, you've had a
But
lot of experience with this too, so.
but the thing about my experiences that I really want people to understand, I never set out to find Bigfoot. I never set out to find a dogman. They found me when I was very, very little, and they were mind speaking with me probably before I could talk. I mean, I don't know. I can only remember so far back, but they've never not been there. They've been a part of my life. They've been a part of everything. Mind speak. I didn't know everybody couldn't mind speak. How would I know?
Hmm.
This is what happened to me. I don't regret it. I consider it a blessing. I thank God for it, because I've been able to experience and witness things that a lot of people can't.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much. Our world is not what we think it is. The world that we
No,
physically see does not exist.
I know.
It's what we've been led to believe is there. And we just follow that line because that's what we're told. But there's so much more out there, and information is power. And without the information, how do you know how to proceed?
You don't. That's why you get the big oafs running around wanting to destroy everything, or the ones that want to run around loving everything, and I do
I
believe we
know.
should love,
Yeah.
but we do have to know
Yeah.
how to protect ourselves in case we do run into a bad one, you know?
Exactly. I mean, I've been there when bad ones have attacked.
Hmm.
You
I mean,
know,
I mean, according to several researchers, they believe they're the bad ones have abducted children, and,
they
God
have.
knows what they've
They
done,
absolutely have. They
you know?
absolutely have.
So
For
you've got
several,
people running mindlessly around these woods that think the woods are safe as long as they've got a gun, not knowing these entities exist, and these are apex predators if they're bad, and
well,
they're.
yeah, and the thing of it is that, and it was documented from, I want to say 100 years ago, and I'm sure it's happened since. I know of somebody that it happened to.
Hmm.
And there was a gentleman that was out deer hunting, and he had a cornfield, and the cornfield was down this slope and in this lower bottom area. And deer season would come up, and he would go out and he'd hunt, and he'd see the deer coming in for the corn, and he would peg the deer off.
Right.
And he was up there one day, and a Bigfoot came in. because they eat the deer. And I've actually seen them take the corn off the stalks out in the field, and they take corn back to their family. But he saw this thing. He didn't know what it was. At that time, there was nothing that said anything about a Bigfoot. And he tried to shoot at it.
Mm-hmm.
They found this man with the shotgun wrapped around his neck.
Oh my
Of course,
God.
he was dead, but I mean, the sheer strength it takes to do that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Had he not tried to shoot it repeatedly, it would have looked at him, he would have looked at it, and it would have turned and it would have left.
Right.
But violence was met with violence because he
Exactly.
was scared, because he didn't know what it was. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that the Bigfoot is resolved of blame, because no, look what it did. But I'm saying
Yeah.
it was a situation that could have been avoided.
Well, and then there's ones too that just are just full blown, they'll
Nasty.
just
Oh
hunt
yeah,
down children and
100%.
kill them and eat them, and
And
I
there
mean,
are some,
and the
and they
problem
get
is with
hurt.
the problem though, Robin, that I think that people are so afraid of is that they have powers. Like these beings have abilities, like to cloak and you know what I mean? So that's what, like, how do you handle an entity that can do this stuff?
Well, that's the thing. They do. And they can be dangerous because of the abilities that they have. I mean, they get it from the ET side.
Right.
And it's astronomical. I mean, I've literally seen things that I literally shake my head, look at my husband and say, please tell me you've seen that, or whoever I'm with. Like, if I only saw these things and these abilities when I was by myself, I would question my sanity. But other people have seen them as well. Other people have been present when it's happened. I mean, I've had it happen by myself, but I've also had it happen with other people there.
Oh,
And
it's
then
it's well known all throughout the
I was
cryptid
going to
world
say,
though that people do it, that they've seen it,
absolutely.
you know.
And so it matters. And they have abducted children. They aren't always going to, but I will be honest with you and say, yes, it happens a lot more than we would like. Now, it doesn't mean that they've always killed the children. A lot of children have been brought back.
God, that's
There
crazy.
was an abduction. It wasn't even an abduction. There was a little boy that got lost. And this was like a year or two ago. And when he was brought back, I mean, he was little. He was like, I don't know, 6 or under.
Yeah.
And he got back, and they asked him how did he find his way home? Because they searched every area within miles. There was no sight of him anywhere. Nothing that had any indication that he was there. They found no trace of him. And then all of a sudden he showed up in his parents' yard. And he said that the bear protected him.
Yeah.
Or I guess he didn't show up in their yard. They found him in some weeds, and he kept saying, the bear protected me. The bear protected me. And they're like, what bear? And they checked the area just moments, or like within moments to days prior. He was not in there. He was not in those weeds. He was
Right.
not in that pond. And yet there he was. And he insisted the bear protected him. The bear protected him. And that's it's always been everybody's thought.
It's crazy. It's so, this stuff, I'm telling you, I could, like, I think we're going to be talking for at least 20 years about this stuff with each other.
Oh, I know. Well, we're going to do this as a series because there's lots to talk
No,
about.
there's so much to talk about, guys, honestly, and we're running out of time right now. I wanted to limit this to an hour tonight because I know Robin and I both have stuff to do tonight anyway, but I want you, next time we talk, which is hopefully next week, okay?
Absolutely.
Here's what I want us to go over, and I don't want to start talking about it now because I don't want to get into all this, but this is going to fascinate people. I want you to tell the story about when you got sick with septic pneumonia that you told me last night.
Oh, sure.
I want you to talk about that, and I want you to, if you will, now I don't know if you want to get into this part, but we started to talk about the CERN discern,
Oh yeah.
deal. And I don't know if you want to go that deep with, the listeners and stuff as you do with me, but, like if you'd be willing to like touch on CERN with me a little bit too. And there's other stuff too, but
Yeah.
those are a couple things I wanted to remind you that I wanted us to talk about.
Sure.
I wanted to cover it tonight, but we like I said, we could talk and we could just
We get going, and you and I are
yeah,
so much alike anyway, so it's just like,
it's crazy. I
it
plan on
is
moving around you at some point.
oh well,
So
and the thing is that we do veer off topic. We're terrible at it, but
yeah,
it's because there's absolutely so much, and you and I are so darn much alike. It's hysterically funny.
yeah, it is.
And so, it's nice because like when I talk to you, you get me.
Mm-hmm.
Certain people do, certain people don't, and I'm okay with that. I don't try to
Yeah,
prove any of this to anybody.
yeah,
Um, they don't have to believe me. I'm okay with that. That just means that mentally they aren't prepared to go where I'm already at. It
right.
doesn't mean I'm smarter.
Exactly.
It's not at all. It's not an intelligence thing. It's where they're mentally ready to accept
Yeah,
what really
yeah,
is. And so I'm fine with that. I don't get angry. I don't get upset. I just say, that's fine. Believe what you
yeah,
want, but you don't have
yeah,
to believe me. But while you're not believing me and you're sitting in your chair talking crap about me and saying I'm crazy, or
yeah,
I'm going to go home and play with my Bigfoot. So you just go
yeah,
ahead and enjoy yourself, you
yeah.
know, and I just don't get offended. Years ago, I stayed quiet because I just didn't, I was so afraid of the reaction of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had more and more people that would be around me that would have some form of an encounter or something. And I got to the point, I guess for me, it changed because I started doing work for them.
Mm-hmm.
They would come to me and ask me to do various things. And then they were teaching me things and how to do energy healing and on them and help them in certain situations, opening and
Mm-hmm.
closing portals, that kind of thing. And I got to the point where I thought, I just don't care if everybody thinks I'm nuts anymore because I have
Yeah,
enough people around me that see things happen
yeah,
and see this, that I have my support system, my husband being my biggest supporter, and one of my dearest friends, two of my dearest friends, three actually, that have witnessed all of this around me and helped me and taught me. And so I'm okay. I know my sanity isn't in question. There was a time when I was very much younger. I want to say I was in my early 20s, and I thought, there's got to be something wrong with me. Like, this is just crazy. I went in, I had an evaluation done. By the time I was done, the therapist believed me. I'm
yeah.
like, you know,
There was a case where a judge had somebody was in for domestics, and the judge had told the guy, I guess somebody was going, the guy believed the girl, and they'd gone Bigfoot hunting together, and he'd seen things. So then they went to court together, and he tried to get the child from her. He was telling the judge, all about this Bigfoot stuff, making her sound crazy. And the judge took off her glasses and looked at him, and she said, such and such his name, and she was like, I believe in Bigfoot. So it
yeah.
was comical because I thought, you have a whole world of people that have seen these, have had
Oh,
encounters,
yeah. It's not
you
like there's
know,
only a few of us. A lot of
you
people
know.
stay quiet for fear of people, thinking they're crazy. And the other thing, too, I had a doctor, a medical professional that was my doctor. And, I was very open with him that I did this kind of research. He was retiring and he was going to hike on the Appalachian Trail. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, I want you to be really careful because there's parts of the Appalachian Trail that are really unsafe when it comes to cryptids and ETs.
Wow.
And he's like, okay. And he called me before he retired and he asked me, and I told him what I knew. And he said, would you be offended if I kept your number on speed dial? I said,
Yeah.
I'm counting on it.
Yeah.
You can call me. Same thing I tell everybody, you can contact me anytime. Um, that's the other thing people don't realize when I talk about this stuff. This is, these are my experiences.
Yeah.
It's somebody that has only one experience. It's every bit as important as the hundreds that I've had because it's all part of that collective of information.
Mm-hmm.
But when I help people, I'm on call 24 hours a day. I've had people say, well, you're on this show or you're on that show. I'm not doing this for me. And this is
Mm-hmm.
not a benefit to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I
Yeah.
can get made fun of. I can, I've had people want to harm me. because I went public. You know, when people ask me, and I don't say yes to every single show, but the ones that I do, if I think it's a good place, and I ask the Bigfoots before I do it, by the way, and say, is this where you think I'm safe to give your information? Which I know
Oh,
sounds crazy, but I actually do that. And there's been
that's neat.
several I've turned down because they said they didn't want me there. But when I help somebody, or not even help them, but just have a conversation with them because they want to reach out and know that they're not crazy, that other
Yeah.
people are experiencing what they do, you know, I don't have to take the time out of my family life or my time, or because of the time differences, take calls at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. There's nothing that says out here that I have to do that. I do that not because I'm thinking I'm better than anybody or that I am an expert. I do it because I actually genuinely care. I
Mm-hmm.
care because I didn't have anybody to go to for
Right.
years. Bob Daigle in Michigan was the first one I ever contacted, and he showed me such compassion and he was so caring. And I thought, you know what? I was lucky.
Yeah.
God, I could have gotten hold of the BFRO, and that would have been tragic because
Yeah.
they still are chasing themselves and don't know what's going on. But
God.
the thing is, when I do talk to people, I don't do it because I want anything. I don't want credit. I don't want glory. I don't want anything like that. I want them to know that there's somebody out there that gives a damn,
Yeah.
that takes what they have to say seriously. And if it's not going to be me, then I encourage them to find that person,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know, and it's not, none of this is about me. None of it. This is all about them. It's about the Bigfoots and the cryptids and all of these things. All I am is somebody that bridges the gap. When it comes down to the importance, I'm on the bottom of the totem,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Well, I don't think you give
and
yourself enough credit with that. You
well,
know.
no, but the thing is you can't have an ego in this. You
Yeah.
can't, because that's how you really screw it all up, and that's how you lose what you've gained.
That's
You
true.
you
Yeah.
can't have an ego, and you've got to have compassion. I'm not a perfect person. I will never claim to be perfect. I find fault with myself on a daily basis. But at least I know I make an effort and I do put the truth out there. And if people don't believe it, that's perfectly fine. But if somebody listens to me and they say, okay, I don't believe her, and they go out there and they get hurt because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't believe me or someone else. I'm not the only one that talks about this. It's not only me. There's hundreds of
No.
thousands of people that do. But at least I know I tried.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody goes out there, I keep my mouth shut, and somebody goes out there and I didn't give them the information that they needed and they get hurt, that's on me.
Right.
I take that personally. I don't take any of this lightly. I don't look at it when I talk to people and say, you have to look at me and you have to listen to me. No, never. You do what you're comfortable with and you believe what you feel,
Mm-hmm.
and if it doesn't work the way you want it to, I'm sorry. I offered the information. If you weren't ready to take it, I can't help that. But if
Right.
you change your mind, if you get to that place where you want to talk to somebody, know that I'll be there. I didn't have that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't wish for anybody to have to feel as conflicted as I did for years because I didn't have that.
Man, that's
You
sad.
know,
Yeah, that's
and
rough. That's
the
rough.
Bigfoots came to me. I didn't go to them. They wanted me to let people know what they really are and what they're really about. And that's simply all I'm doing. I'm just a messenger. Like
Yeah.
I said, I'm not anything of any importance other than a means for the information to get out.
Yeah.
But I do take it seriously. I'm not frivolous about it. And, I think all of us, you included, you're a messenger too, Tracy.
I know.
You're doing the
I've
same thing. And
yeah.
it's a blessing that you are. You
Yeah.
know,
I felt that this was a purpose of mine, that God had sent me for a purpose
yeah,
to do all this. There's a reason for all this.
if nobody takes anything away from what the Bigfoot and the Dogman teach us, it's the collective. It's the law of one. Everybody works together as a collective. No one person is everything. You
Yeah.
have to be a collective. Look at our world. If our world worked more under the law of one and as a collective, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in.
No, we wouldn't be. Not at
You
all.
know, and that's how I look at myself and you and other people, that do all these shows. We're a collective.
Yeah, I do too. I
You
feel the
know,
same way that we all need
nobody
to be
is
in this together and not be
exactly. Nobody
competitive
is
with
more,
each other, you
yeah,
know?
nobody is more important than the other one.
Yeah,
We're all part of a puzzle. We're all part of the same goal.
I think so too. I really do, Robin.
And
There's a
like
reason
I
we're
said
doing this.
before, somebody with 1,000 experiences and then somebody with one, even a slight experience, that slight experience is every bit important as those 1,000 that anybody else has
I know it's
because
a
it
piece to
adds
a
to
puzzle,
it adds
you
to
know?
the collective and it's valid and these people are valid and their voices aren't being heard and the information that they're being given isn't accurate. And without the accurate information, how can anybody be safe?
I don't know. It's
Whether it's our people or their people.
yeah.
It's a lot. It's deep. And my husband has said to me more than once, he's like, we live and breathe this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like there's no break. And I said, what do you want me to do? I don't, I don't go out and search for any of this. And he's like, I know.
No,
And
no, they
then it'll
found
get
you.
really quiet. And, they have their lives and things. And so it'll get really dead quiet. And then he's like, well, God, nothing's happened in the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah,
And I'm like, well, do you want it all or nothing? And he's like, no. It's like he'll go to work and they'll be mind speaking to him while he's at work.
yeah.
And he's like, and they're like, we're trying to reach her. She didn't respond. Well, she didn't respond because, this is going on. And I mean, I can hear him, but a lot of times I can't always respond depending on the
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's crazy.
I
And it
know.
comes and goes. You have times where it's so busy you can't keep up with them. And then they get busy doing their own things. And then it's dead quiet. And then boom, it's busy again. You never know. They've got things in their own lives that they deal with just like we do. And I
Right.
get people all the time. It's like, I haven't heard from them in a couple months. It's been dead quiet here. Like, did they
Mm-hmm.
leave? Did they move on? No, they didn't leave and move on, but they have lives.
Yeah, I wish we could have covered that story about your pneumonia tonight, but I got to get you on soon again because I want
Yeah,
them to hear that story.
we'll
That's a great.
definitely, um, Monday nights are bad for me, but we can, during the rest of the week, we can get it figured out. You and I
Yeah,
together, we'll chat privately like we always do, and
yeah.
we'll figure out a time that's going to work for both of us, and we'll just knock it out.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
and
I'll probably call.
you
I'll message you
my hope
tomorrow.
is I don't expect everybody. Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow, but
Yeah,
I don't expect anybody to just say, "Oh, she said this, so I'm supposed to drink the Kool-Aid," so to speak.
yeah, yeah. I
You
know.
know, I don't
I know.
expect that or want that. That's not a goal I have.
No, you're just
My
telling what
goal
you know, and if
Yeah, my
people,
goal is to put the information out there. So maybe think about it. Think
yeah.
about the possibilities.
That's how
You
I feel
know?
even when I talk about like even, the stuff about the Bible and God and cryptids
Yeah,
and hauntings and experiences I've had with, my psychic abilities and all the encounters I've had with spirits. And it's like, dude, I don't, if you guys want to believe it, it's up. I mean, I don't care if you don't believe me. It's just, I'm
it
just
is
telling
what
you this is
it
what's happened to me.
is. Yeah,
And,
and I years and years ago, this was a long time ago, before I really came out with all this stuff. I mean, I had just done the International Scientific Conference in Siberia and come home and it got attacked, of course. And I didn't talk about paranormal abilities there. It was strictly flesh and bloods and different activities at my house. And I come home and I got attacked, of course, by Jeff Meldron and Lauren Coleman, who I have nothing against. I've never met the man, and he had written some unkind things about me. And I thought, I don't know why. I don't know you. I haven't done you any harm or even spoke ill of you.
mm-hmm.
To this day, I haven't talked to him. I have nothing against him. I've seen some of his work. I don't have a problem with him. But anyway, I got attacked, and I was like, I'm not trying to convince anything of anybody of anything.
Yeah,
You know, just think about the possibilities of.
right.
And then I was like, and I'd like to point out that I never went running around going, look at me, this is what's going on. I was
Right.
asked. I was asked to go there. I was asked to share my experiences. I wasn't running around trying to find anybody. I haven't to this day.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not knocking on doors and saying, "Oh, let me tell you this." No. I'm just like when I met you, you reached out to me and said, would you consider doing the show? And then we talked and hit it off from the bat,
Mhm.
and got to be good friends. I mean, I consider you a very dear and treasured friend.
Yeah, I do too.
And
You.
so no, this isn't me running around trying to get attention. I could care less if I have attention.
And I can tell
I'm
that too, because I mean, you
yeah, I
actually
mean,
you don't even have time to do this stuff most of the time.
well,
It's like,
the thing of it is I've got experiences. I
mm-hmm,
continually have experiences. I don't need to go shout it from a rooftop that I have them.
mm-hmm,
I'm just not that person, you
yeah,
know? And when I do talk about it, it's because they've encouraged me to talk about it and because other people have asked me to talk about it. But I don't go from radio host to radio host and say, "Hey, can I be on your show?" I've never done that once.
I don't think you'd have to. People find
No,
you.
I think the only thing Vic Cundiff had me on his Dogman episodes and his Bigfoot episodes. And
Mm-hmm,
he had put a thing up and he said, he's going to do a paranormal show. Does anybody want to be on it? And
mm-hmm,
I messaged him. I said, now that's going to really be awesome because of all the paranormal stuff. I said, that is a show I would want to get on, and he laughed. He's like, oh my God, I forgot about all your paranormal experiences. Because him and I have talked and shared a few of them, but
mm-hmm,
his other shows talk more about flesh and blood. He's
right.
like, you should have been the first one I thought of. He said, I can't believe it. And he's like, yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it. I'm like, yeah, I will.
Yeah, I'm
But
like paranormal queen around here. I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
I've got so much paranormal stuff. It's
oh,
crazy.
it's insane. Like I've
You
walked in
know,
a room and saw things move through the air, slide across the
yeah,
table, orbs
Robin,
dancing
it's my
around the
life
living
story.
room.
It's literally
Yeah,
my life story.
exactly.
Yeah.
I've never not spoke to God, to the spirits or the
Mm-hmm.
ghosts, or I have two that live in my house that multiple people have seen moving
Yeah,
around there.
I got them
Yeah,
too. I got,
I've dealt with the bad spirits. I've dealt with the good ones.
yeah.
It is what it
Ours
is.
have ours have learned to exist with us.
Yeah,
So we,
I don't have a problem with the two that's here. I have an older gentleman and a little girl, and I've not had any problems. I've lived in
yeah,
haunted houses that were really, really bad before. I've been attacked before.
yeah.
Um, but I don't have any problems. I mean, I really don't.
I don't
Um,
either. This one's good. Like we've got a little boy that's new. I don't know what's going on with this little boy. He keeps appearing and he's new, but I don't he's not, he scared Blair one day though. Blair came my little
yeah.
granddaughter came screaming running out of the playroom and he was in there and then right after he was in there my daughter was standing there thinking it was my grandson standing next to her and she looked down and she realized that the little boy standing next to her wasn't dressed like Levi. And then my other daughter was standing there talking to her, looking at this little boy at the same time, realizing that wasn't Levi. So both my daughters at the same time were looking at this little boy.
Yeah. And,
It was
and I've
freaking,
had my grandkids have seen him and stuff, and it frightens them because they don't know about it. But
no,
the next thing is where you don't want to scare the children,
no.
but at the same time, why are they afraid? Because we don't
Yeah,
educate them.
yeah.
We haven't taught them that these things exist because we've been told they don't.
Well, no, our kids grow up knowing they do. I absolutely listen to my children when my kids all have
Yeah.
abilities and I hear everything. Never laugh at them. I know that when they come to me and they tell me they
Oh,
see stuff, I
exactly.
know they're seeing it,
My
you
kids
know?
grew up around the Bigfoots,
Mm-hmm.
the Dogmen. They've seen ETs. You know, they've grown up around them. Some of my children choose to accept the fact about them. My
Mm-hmm.
others, try to like block it out because they don't want to have to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But they all have grown up around them.
Yeah,
I have some of my children that have an extreme amount of abilities that they'd rather they didn't have.
me too.
I have some that don't, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I don't force it on them. They have their own path that they have to choose, and it'll be what it's supposed to be at the end of the day.
yeah. They're
But
they
like
need to know the truth, though.
I listen to them, I give them the truth. If they choose not to believe the truth, then that's their choice to make.
That's how I feel too, you
You
know.
know, and I'm okay with it either way. It doesn't change my course.
No, it doesn't.
You
And we
know?
don't go looking for this stuff. Like I'm not out ghost, like I'm not
Oh, I
out
know.
searching for stuff.
It's
Like
like,
it comes to us, you
yeah,
know.
it's like
So
I live in South Carolina right now. I can't go out and play in the woods. And when I was in Michigan, I was in the woods all the time. Like literally. I was
yeah.
looking for structures and footprints and everything else. I'm in South Carolina. This is the queen land of the venomous snakes.
No, I
It's
gotta
not even,
stop you. Wait, you gotta stop for a minute. I was laughing yesterday. We've got to get off of here too, by the way.
I
But
know.
Chandler said, I was talking to my daughter, and I said, Robin said, she said, I think it's so neat that you and Robin have struck up such a cool friendship because I told her I wanted to come and see you. I
Yeah,
really like over the winter or
absolutely.
something. I wanted to come. Well, I kind of like to wait till you went back to Michigan, but I don't know when you're
Yeah.
gonna get back there. But so I said, she lived in Michigan. She moved to South Carolina. I said, she's grown up her whole lives around extraterrestrials, Bigfoot, Dogmen, and every other entity you can imagine. And she moved to South Carolina and she wants to leave South Carolina. Why? Because of the snakes.
And
And
you know
she
what?
just started laughing because I was
I
like,
know.
she can handle the Bigfoot and the Dogmen, but she can't handle the snakes.
Yeah,
So
and you know
we
what?
were,
I've had pet snakes my whole life. I
yeah,
mean, I don't I'm not afraid of non-venomous snakes.
yeah, yeah,
It's the venomous. It's all these
yeah.
damn rattlesnakes and copperheads and water moccasins and
We have them
you
here
know.
too.
Oh, I know it's terrible. Michigan gets rattlesnakes, but the amount that are here, and I can't live anywhere but in the woods because
Yeah.
these guys will go in the city. They don't
Yeah,
care.
I know.
And I'm not relaxed unless I'm in the woods. I'm not. I'm on
Yeah.
pins and needles. I'm miserable.
Well, I told
And
you I'm the same
so
way with trees. I have to be around
I
trees.
have to be around the trees. And so it's
Yeah.
like the whole time we've been doing this and sitting in our car, I have a possum that's been sitting like 8 feet off the car, tearing my trash apart. Now I could get out,
Um,
chase him off, but he's probably hungry. So tomorrow I'll spend half a day picking up trash.
yeah.
It is what it is. But he comes out and he sits and he looks at the car and he must not have realized I was in it.
Yeah,
He's
you're
been
sitting in
walking
there.
around.
Oh my God,
My
Robin.
husband said the other night he walked outside and he was out here. And then I came to take a bag of trash out today and my trash was scattered all over. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
my dogs are fenced in. So it's not the dogs.
No,
I have
now you know
I
who it
feed the
is.
feral cats. All the feral cats convene up on my porch every night so I can feed them. They're all fat and
Uh,
sassy. They're not even mine. And
yeah.
yet my trash is being destroyed. But the possums and the raccoons used to come up on the porch because I have a pan bolted to my porch
Yeah.
for all the
Yeah.
feral cats. And
That's a
they
good
would come in
idea.
and I would see, we have a young Bigfoot that runs through here. His name is Zerky. And he comes up occasionally up on the porch and steals the cat food. He thinks I don't
Oh
know he's
my
there.
God.
I've caught him on security camera and I have glass panels on either side of my door. And I was in the living room one day and I looked over to the door and I saw his black head bend over as he was in his hand as he's scooping it out.
Oh
So I
my
mean, everything
God.
comes up here. It's like no wonder my bill for the animal feed is like higher than a
Oh,
house
I
payment.
know. Okay, you. Well, let's get off here now. And
Okay, you have a
I'm going,
wonderful night, sweetheart.
yeah, you too. I will be talking to you tomorrow probably, okay?
Okay, sounds great. Take
Okay. Take
care.
care. See ya.
Bye bye.
Okay, guys, that is the show for the night with Robin. Sorry we get a little long-winded sometimes when we're talking. We've just gotten to be such close friends. We're like, just two little chatterboxes. We're gonna try to schedule another podcast next week with her because I really want to get you guys like we didn't even get to cover some of the stuff tonight I wanted to cover that were pretty crazy, like not crazy. So I don't want to say the word crazy, but they were just amazing stories. The one where she had astral projected into possibly the Garden of Eden. She also had an encounter at CERN where she was sent in to do some work there. And there was also a story where she had septic pneumonia where they didn't think she was going to live and be in the hospital she would have to be in the hospital at least 3 to 6 months, and she walked out of there the next day because of healing that she had gotten from the Bigfoot. So this is some good stuff, you guys. Robin is just amazing. I love her so much. She's just the greatest person in the world. I can't wait to go down and spend some time with her this winter. Hopefully this winter. I got to see how things go, but if not, in the spring. So you guys have a wonderful night. I really love doing this podcast. And thank you so much for, growing the channel more and more. Even my YouTube channel is starting to just, the amount of followers that took place just in the last day was there was just like a big jump in it, which was really cool for me. And I really thought that was neat. So just, please keep, liking videos, following me, giving me hand claps, sending me messages. I love, so I have some messages too. I want to read you guys that some of my listeners sent in. I'm not going to say who they were, just some things that were really cool, that some stories and stuff they sent in that were neat to get in. So I got some really cool stuff. Even a man that was a full-blooded Indian that had sent me some messages and spoke some of his Indian language to me, which I think is just so cool. But you guys have a great night, and I will be back soon. You guys take care. God bless you. Stay safe and say your prayers, guys.